Greetings Acolytes, and welcome back to the channel. In the rising days of the Empire, Darth Vader's entire focus was set purely on hunting and finding Kenobi. After Order 66, there was still a certain number of Jedi still alive left in the galaxy, although their numbers, which were previously 10,000, were now diminished to only 100. After everything was said and done, we know that there were only a very tight few Jedi left in the galaxy by the time of Luke Skywalker. For a long time, it seemed as though the only two Jedi that were left behind were Ben Kenobi and Yoda. Ahsoka and Ezra at the time were long gone and on their own paths during the time of the Galactic Civil War. This was because of the Empire's ruthless hunt for anyone claiming to be a part of the Jedi religion or allying with the Jedi ideologies or religion in any way. Palpatine made sure to destroy even the Church of the Whills, who were a closely Jedi-related religious organization despite not containing any Force sensitives whatsoever. Although we have covered Vader's Jedi hunting exploits in great detail on the channel, one thing still stands out. Despite Palpatine ensuring that the Jedi stayed underground, he never seemed to worry about hunting the greatest of them, Yoda, and Vader also never gave any indication or desire of hunting the Grand Master. So why is this? Why did the Empire forsake the hunt for arguably the most dangerous, and certainly the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy at the time? First though, according to our analytics, a lot of you guys that watch the channel haven't actually subscribed yet, so if you've been enjoying the Star Wars content and want to keep up to date with everything Star Wars related, force crush that subscribe button. The answer to this question comes in layers and has to be looked at from several points of view, but the most important perspective is that of the Emperors. Many times in both the books as well as the comics, Darth Vader and his master come into conflict about their opposing views regarding the urgency of the Jedi hunt. Vader thought that the hunt was paramount and that any and all remaining Jedi were an absolute major threat to the Empire. However, Sidious thought of it quite differently. The Emperor's nonchalant attitude towards the remaining Jedi stemmed from the fact that he knew that the Empire had won, and he wanted all remaining Jedi to live just a little longer and watch as their galaxy is taken over completely by the Sith. This included, of the utmost importance, his own rival, Yoda. Palpatine was well aware of Yoda's survival. After their duel, he had the Coruscant Guard on high alert to look for the Jedi Grandmaster after he fell that great height from the Senate pod. After the clone troopers reported that they didn't find a body, he told them to double their searches. This was until he felt a disturbance in the Force, that Vader was in great danger. The clone troopers never found Yoda, so Palpatine reasonably assumed that he had fled and was now in hiding. In all honesty, this suited the Emperor just fine, as he knew that somewhere out in the galaxy, Yoda was wallowing in his complete and utter failure. Sidious took a great measure of sinister delight in knowing that his enemies, and especially his greatest rival, were having to hide themselves and live in the dark like the Sith had to for a millennia, under the tenets of Bane and the Rule of Two. But now, Emperor Palpatine was far more concerned with the state of the Empire, and consolidating as much power as possible while building up the Empire. Unfortunately though, for the time being, his apprentice didn't share that same sentiment, nor passion for the Empire. While Sidious was nonchalant, Darth Vader was hell-bent on finding and killing the Jedi that had remained of the Republic. It wasn't enough for him to know that they were suffering under the tyranny of the Empire and being forced to stand by helplessly. Vader wanted blood. He wanted to drink their fear as he drove the life from their bodies by his own blade. He had a bone to pick with the Jedi, and it had become personal. His revenge couldn't be satiated until he slew his old master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It would take several incultations by Sidious and a bad experience before Vader would realize just how destructive his habits were for himself. But how does this relate to Yoda, the Grandmaster? Well, we aren't really given an idea of what Vader thought regarding the Jedi Grandmaster, but it wasn't something that was on the top of his hit list for sure. We could speculate that perhaps Vader knew deep down that in his new state, it was laughable to think that he could face Yoda's power and skill. However, we here at the channel do not believe this. Another speculation we could offer as to why Sidious didn't bother sending Vader to find Yoda is perhaps also he knew that Vader would not be able to stand up to him, and Sidious perhaps wasn't ready to gamble with his greatest prize against a foe that was more or less irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. What I believe though is that Vader and Yoda would have been very closely matched in terms of skill with the lightsaber as well as even potential in the Force, and Vader did have a decent chance of defeating Yoda. But at the same time, Yoda also had a decent chance at stopping Lord Vader, and Sidious was not willing to risk this for someone that caused no foreseeable threat to the Empire. Now though, all of this was is not to say that the Emperor didn't want Yoda to be found. There was a bounty set on Yoda by the Empire, and it was a handsome bounty indeed. So handsome, in fact, that the Empire was getting an overwhelming number of false claims by bounty hunters attempting to collect on the Empire's prize. The Imperials were bombarded by so many of these false claims that they had to change the rules concerning the bounty. Firstly, they wanted Yoda alive, and any claims found to be false would result in capital punishment, up to and including death by the counterfeiter. Yoda's chosen destination was a true stroke of genius though, and wisdom on par with his reputation. The Dagobah system was a planet that was far out of the way, in the back of the Outer Rim. It has once been a separatist-controlled system, but after that was abolished, no one really laid claim to the swamp world despite its appearance on numerous star maps. Not to mention the power of the dark side nexus located in the cave on Dagobah was strong enough to hide Master Yoda's impressive signature in the Force. Yoda was both hiding in and out of plain sight at the time. There was actually a time that Vader sent out a search party purely to indulge a small part of his curiosity, but after they came back empty-handed, Palpatine waved it off completely. During one of Sidious and Vader's many conversations on the topic of the Jedi, Sidious laughed in Vader's face after Vader had mentioned that the Jedi pose a significant threat to the Empire. Sidious then said he defeated Mace Windu, one of the Order's most powerful Jedi, and not even Yoda could stop him. Sidious would then go on to say that he had plans ready in case any Jedi ever did try to rise up again. The Emperor then dismissed Lord Vader with no inkling of what these plans may have been, which greatly perturbed the Dark Lord as he was now beginning to wonder if his master trusted him at all. Well friends, what are your take on this apathetic view of searching for the former Jedi Grandmaster on behalf of Palpatine? Do you think it was in the Empire's best interest to have focused their resources elsewhere? And if they had found Yoda, do you think there could have been anything Vader or the Empire could do at all to have triumphed over him? Do you think that Vader and Yoda were a match for one another? Let us know your thoughts on this down below. And as always, may the Force be with you and have a great day.